you don't remember becoming yourself. The years that shaped your fears, your attachment style, the way you react when someone pulls away are mostly gone, not faded. Gone. And if you try to force it, there's just fog, which is unsettling. Because how can something shape you completely and leave almost no trace? The strangest part, your brain chose this. You remember fragments, a birthday cake, a playground, a teacher's voice. But not the ordinary days. Not the feeling of waking up at 6 years old. Not what it felt like to exist as you. When people tell detailed childhood stories, you listen carefully. Somehow theirs feels like a movie. Yours feels like screenshots. This can quietly affect your identity, because memory is how you build continuity. In psychology, this is called narrative identity, the internal story that connects your past to your present. Without clear early chapters, your story feels thin at the beginning. You may struggle to explain why certain situations trigger you, why abandonment feels ancient, why criticism hits deeper than it should. Sometimes you even wonder, did I block something out? Because the brain is supposed to remember important things. So why doesn't it remember the beginning of you? The answer isn't dramatic, but it is profound, and it has less to do with trauma and more to do with development. You are not broken, your memory is not defective. What you're experiencing is something psychologists call childhood amnesia. Nearly everyone has it. Most adults cannot recall consistent autobiographical memories before age 3 to 4, and even after that, memories are sparse. This isn't repression, it's construction. Your brain was under development, and during early childhood, it prioritized survival, attachment, and language over storytelling. It stored patterns, not narratives. The absence of memory does not mean absence of experience. Your nervous system remembers in a different way, and that difference explains the fog. But to understand it, you need to see how memory actually forms. There are 3 core mechanisms behind this. First, the hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for forming long-term episodic memories, the "this happened to me" kind. But in early childhood, it's still developing. Neuroscience shows it continues maturing into adolescence. Before it stabilizes, memories are encoded inconsistently. Think of it like trying to save files on a computer while the operating system is still installing. Some files stick, most don't. Second, language. Autobiographical memory depends on words. Language acts like folders in a filing cabinet. When you were 2 or 3, you experienced emotions intensely, but you didn't yet have the vocabulary to label them. Without labels, experiences don't consolidate into retrievable stories. Instead, they remain as sensations. This connects to a key concept in cognitive science: explicit memory versus implicit memory. Explicit memory is conscious recall. Implicit memory is emotional imprint without narrative. Early childhood is dominated by implicit memory. You may not remember the day you felt unsafe, but your nervous system remembers the pattern. Third, identity. To store something as my past, you need a stable sense of self. Developmental psychology shows that a coherent self-concept forms gradually between ages 4 and 7. Before that, experiences aren't fully tagged as belonging to a continuous me. Without that anchor, memories don't integrate into a timeline. So here's the mental model. Your childhood brain was a sponge, not a camera. A camera records for later viewing. A sponge absorbs patterns to shape itself. Your early brain wasn't documenting your life, it was wiring your responses. And wiring does not require conscious recall. But this leads to a deeper question. If the wiring remains, how do you work with something you can't clearly remember? Instead of trying to dig for lost scenes, there's a more effective approach. You work with the wiring. Here's how. Notice recurring emotional reactions in your current life. Moments where you overreact, withdraw, cling. Why it works. Implicit memories are stored in emotional circuits, including the amygdala. They show up as patterns of response, not images. By observing patterns, you access early wiring without needing footage. Someone takes hours to reply. You feel a disproportionate wave of anxiety. Instead of asking, What exact childhood event caused this? Ask, what does this feeling like? The body often reveals themes: unpredictability, distance, disconnection. That's the wiring. Look at old photos, visit childhood neighborhoods, listen to music from that time. Why it works: memory retrieval is cue dependent. The hippocampus responds strongly to sensory triggers. Smell, sound, and place can reactivate dormant networks. You smell a certain detergent. Suddenly, you remember your grandmother's kitchen layout. You didn't create that memory, you unlocked it. Journal about what your childhood felt like overall. Safe, chaotic, lonely, warm. Why it works. Research in narrative psychology shows that constructing coherent emotional themes strengthens identity integration. The brain seeks meaning more than accuracy. You may not remember specific arguments, but you might write, "It felt tense at home." Naming the emotional climate integrates implicit memory into conscious understanding, and integration reduces anxiety, because the unknown becomes named. When you notice fear about missing memories, gently label it as developmental. Assuming something terrible must be hidden activates the threat system. The brain begins scanning for danger. That increases stress hormones, which impair memory retrieval. Calm brains retrieve better. Instead of thinking, "What did I block out?" you think, "My brain was still building." That shift signals safety, and safety opens access. Reflect weekly on meaningful events, write short summaries, attach language to your experiences. Why it works: memory consolidation strengthens with reflection and repetition. You are training your hippocampus to encode narrative memory more deeply. Every Sunday, you write one paragraph about something that mattered. Over time, your life feels more continuous. You are building the archive your younger brain couldn't. Here's the model to remember: wiring first, recording later. Your childhood brain prioritized wiring. Attachment patterns, threat detection, language. Social cues. Recording was secondary. You don't need detailed footage to understand yourself. You need awareness of patterns. You need language for emotional themes. You need gentleness toward developmental gaps. The story isn't missing. It's embodied in how quickly you trust, in how easily you brace, in how you respond to closeness. You may never remember the ordinary mornings of being 5. You may never reconstruct the full timeline. And that's okay. Forgetting is not failure. It's compression. Your brain kept what it needed to shape you, even if it discarded the scenes. The fob doesn't mean something is wrong. It means you were busy becoming. And maybe the real shift isn't asking, "Why don't I remember my childhood?" Maybe it's asking, "How is it still living in me?" Because once you understand that, the blank spaces stop feeling empty and start feeling like architecture.